Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us for our Together We Can Read press conference jointly between the City of Columbia and Richland School District 1. Together We Can Read is an initiative that was started in 2008 by myself and then Councilwoman Belinda Gergel. We came up with the idea. Actually, one day we were sitting in executive session, well, no, not executive session, but in a work session. And as we were sitting talking about what we could do as a partnership with Richland One, we were thinking about all the many things that we as a city can do. And at the time, we had a new superintendent, and he talked about the love of reading and the need of reading. And as we all talked about as adults, our love of reading, it was apparent to all of us that our love of reading was developed at a very young age. And when you read to children, statistics all prove it, when you read to children more consistently at a young age, you develop a lifelong love of reading, and therefore a lifelong love of learning. And so we wanted to see what could we do as city leaders to support our great, phenomenal capital school district, Richland One, but also do something for the students in Richland One. And so we all know that the statistics show that if children are not reading at age level around grade 3, that they may have years of decline. And so we wanted to focus on starting on third grades. And so we started Together We Can Read. It was yet one part of a bigger initiative that unfortunately really never really got off the ground, but at least this is something that did get off the ground and has sustained itself so that we're now in the 7th year. And so the whole point of Together We Can Read is to have community leaders, such as all of you, to go into every single third grade classroom in Richland School District 1 on the same day at the same time and read the same book. And the first year, we had no idea that 7 years later we would still be able to do such an extraordinary program that would have such excitement throughout the community. Every year, as we put out the call for readers, we have people saying, when is it going to happen? When can I read? And every year, we have more and more people wanting to read. And so hopefully, eventually, we'll be able to expand this beyond the third grade. But just to share with you a little bit by the numbers, since 2008, we have had approximately 2,000 readers go into 2,000 third graders who have read to every year. And the objectives of Together We Can Read are 3 points. Number 1 is to provide children with their own books. Some children who don't have their own libraries are able to have their own book that they will then be able to start their own at-home library. Secondly, we choose a book that highlights Columbia or South Carolina that helps support people's not only love of reading, but their love of our great state. And then thirdly, we teach children why reading is so important, and we allow them to interact with positive role models, you. And so this has just been a labor of love for us, and it's been very exciting to see how we've been able to impact people over the last several years. And just if I could share with you for a few minutes, since we started this initiative in 2008, approximately 14,000 students have been impacted by this initiative. We have approximately, like I mentioned, 2,000 students a year, and it's so interesting now when you see those third graders that we had the first year, and you see them now as high school students about to go to college, and they remember that Councilman Davis or Mayor Bob came into their classroom and read to them and brought them a book. It is so exciting and so touching to still see that. We have, this year's numbers include, we will be in 28 schools tomorrow. We will have 2,000 students read to, which will be 101 classes. Each class, every 101 of those classes will get their own copy of the book, as well as each school library will get a copy of the book. And we have 101 celebrity readers. And when we say celebrity readers, that is all of you in this room and those people who couldn't be here, because it's so important for kids to know that we've got people who care about them and take time out of their busy schedules to come in and read to them. So we thank you so much for participating. We're so excited about this initiative. And what I would like to do is introduce, we've got with us from Richland School District 1, we've got Commissioner Pamela Adams, and we have Commissioner Dwayne Smiling. Commissioner Adams will bring some remarks, and then after she brings remarks, we've got our interim superintendent, Dr. Cynthia Cash-Green.
On behalf of Richland One, we are so pleased to be a part of Together We Can Read for the 7th year with the City of Columbia. Tomorrow morning, like Councilwoman Isaac Devine said, 100 readers from throughout the community will read to almost 2,000 third graders in our 28 elementary schools. And I'd like to give a round of applause to the individuals who organized that. That's amazing. Each third grader is going to receive a copy of the book, First You Explore, the story of young Charles Towns, and by former Richland One teacher, Miss Rachel Haney, and we're going to meet her in just a few minutes. And the book is they're not just getting the book, but their parents are getting a guide to have activities related to the book, which I think is very helpful to our parents, especially to this parent. Charles Towns' book is going to bring real-life science to our children. My favorite economists, the Freakonomics, found in their research that owning books in the home is a positive indicator of student achievement, and Councilwoman Devine just alluded to that. This is a big reason why Together We Can Read is important to our district. This program helps to build home libraries, which is vital to our children who cannot get to the public library or afford to purchase books. I know that tomorrow morning a child will get their very first book. And parents, if you have not set aside an area for books and reading in your home, please do so. This will send a message that reading is important and should be done each and every day. As a classroom history teacher for 11 years, I know that my students with high academic achievement also greatly valued books, were avid readers, and would grab a picture book as quickly as a chapter book from my bookshelves, and I taught middle schoolers. My students would get a lot of work done if they could read for pleasure or go get a new book afterwards. We often read novels to enhance our learning or to review our year's work. Richland One appreciates the city's continued partnership, and we especially thank City Councilwoman Tamika Isaac Devine for her leadership, support, and enthusiasm of this project. I can tell you when I first heard of this project as just a little old teacher at Hand Middle School, I had tears in my eyes that our children were getting books, because I truly knew in my heart of hearts this was their very first book for many of our young people, and that's just a tremendous gift that our city and our district are giving to them. She is a personal friend, and a parent of Richland One, and a genius for cultivating this program over the past 7 years. My own daughter will be so happy with her new book tomorrow morning, because last year she was quite envious of her brother's Skip the Rope book, which still sits by his bed in his very own home library. Thank you so much.
Well, first I'd like to thank you, Councilwoman Devine, for keeping this initiative alive in terms of the partnership between Richland School District 1 and the City of Columbia. Thank you so very much. And then I want to thank our school board members for continuing to support this initiative, that we might continue to emphasize to children a very critical skill that we try to impart upon them every day, and that's reading. And while you're setting an example tomorrow, and we're looking forward to it, and our kids are very excited, all those third graders are waiting for you to come walk through those doors with this book. And while you're setting an example tomorrow, that reading is important, it is one that Richland One emphasizes every day, because we know and we recognize how critical it is that children acquire this lifelong skill that really will propel them through life. So I'd like to just simply say thank you for the partnership. We look forward to seeing each and every one of you on tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Adams and Dr. Cash Green. I also would like to ask that our City Manager Teresa Wilson and our Senior Assistant City Manager Allison Baker join me up here, please. As Commissioner Adams talked about, this year's book is First You Explore, the story of young Charles Towns. As I mentioned earlier in my opening remarks, every year we select a book that has a Columbia or South Carolina focus. And the reason for this is because we not only want to cultivate the love of reading for children, but we want to open their eyes to what is possible. And sometimes people don't know what's possible if they only explore what's in their backyard, or they think, in my community, I can't do this. Over the years, we have been extraordinarily proud that we've been able to have books that have highlighted Columbia or South Carolina, but particularly have had authors or illustrators that are from the great state of South Carolina. So children can not only see that I can read a book and love it, but I can grow up and I can be an author, I can be an artist, I can use my talents to open up other people's eyes to reading and learning. And so that is so very important to us, because it's extraordinary that we're able to let people cultivate their love for South Carolina in other ways. So this year is no different. Again, first you explore the story of young Charles Towns is by Rachel Haney, who is an author and former Richland 1 teacher. Ms. Haney was recognized the potential for young learners to know more about Dr. Charles Towns when she first interviewed the Nobel laureate a decade ago. At the time of the initial interview, the inventor of the laser was back in his native of South Carolina to throw his support behind South Carolina State Museum's initiative to build a planetarium and observatory. As the museum's plans developed, Rachel interviewed Mr. Towns a number of additional times in order to develop this book. And as you all are aware, the observatory and planetarium just opened this year, and every single Richland 1 student has an opportunity to go see that planetarium. So there's that connection again between the inventor and what they'll be able to see in their own backyard. The narrative of the picture book is supported by the illustrations of Tahern Cook, who is also here with us. Mr. Cook is a Columbia native, and he visited the South Carolina State Museum's extensive exhibit on Dr. Towns before beginning the series of fine art paintings that to illustrate First You Explore the Story of Young Charles Towns. Since the publication of the book, Cook, a graduate of Richland School of Art and Design in Sarasota, Florida, has released 2 books that he illustrated and authored with his wife, Lori Cook. He's affiliated with the Science Academy, a charter school, and he also leads students in the creative process at Studio Campfire, located in a small family farm in North Carolina. We are so excited to have both author and illustrator. After our 7 years of doing this, we usually have one or the other. We've not been blessed to have them both here, and we're actually able to have both here today. So I would like to ask first Ms. Rachel Haney to come bring some remarks, and then followed by Mr. Cook.
I had no idea that I would end up with so many wonderful partners on this project when it first began. Trajan was the first partner, and all of you are partnering with this now, the goal of which was to make this wonderful man, this celebrated scientist, this native South Carolinian known to our children. The tie between him and Columbia, although he's a Greenville native, is the State Museum and the work that he did there to help get the planetarium and observatory a reality. I got to visit him this past July on his 99th birthday and realized he was not going to be traveling again. I had hoped he would come when the groundbreaking took place for the planetarium and observatory, but it took so long for all the intricate plans to get worked out. He was not traveling any longer at that point. The partnership with Trajan, I'd like you to know just a little bit about. He didn't read my mind. He surpassed my imagination in coming up with ways to depict a childhood that turned out to be a stellar career. And the stellar is a little bit of a pun, since astronomy was the major part of Dr. Towns' career after he won the Nobel for the laser, which we use every day. I think the great tie-in for students is that in the book they can see a childhood and what happened in that childhood. And when they visit the State Museum and go to the exhibit, they can see the grown-up Charles Towns, and that is when they will be able to make the connection. We can do this. You know, we may not win a Nobel Prize, but we can love science. And more importantly, we can love what we do. One of Dr. Towns' most repeated quotes was, "If you love what you do, you never work." And I think that would appeal to children since they like to play. And if they choose well, they can have a career that will seem like play to them for the rest of their lives. I'm thrilled to think of the synergy that we will have tomorrow with all of us reading this book, all of us imparting to these children what can happen when you live in South Carolina, when you love reading, when you love learning, and when you're willing to explore what's around you. That doesn't cost money. Everybody won't have a backyard like Dr. Towns had on this little farm up in Greenville, but everyone has a place to explore, and that's why that comes first.
Well, first, all right, first let's do that. And thank you, Rachel, for those very, very kind words. My name's Tran Cook, and it was quite an honor to, when Rachel first approached me about illustrating for this project, and we had a wonderful time discussing it. I'm not a scientist, I'm an artist, but the awesome thing that came out of it, what I got so excited about, was when she knew the title right away was First You Explore, and that's not a far cry from what an artist does. He observes first, and so I made that connection immediately, and I just was very much drawn into the enthusiasm that Rachel brought to the project and her passion for what she was wanting to convey about this wonderful man, Dr. Towns. So it was not a hard project to jump onto. I greatly appreciated that she would think of me and felt honored to be a part of it. At the time, I did not envision being a part of this, and I must say that this too is quite a wonderful contribution. And once again, I just thank her, and I thank all of you for letting me be a part of it. Thank you.
Thank you, Rachel and Traherne. Again, thank you all so much for being a part of this. As you can tell by the speakers and the enthusiasm here, is that this is so very important, not only to the children that we will read to tomorrow, but to this community and to all of you. Every year I hear from the adult readers how exciting it is and how much we learn from the children when we go read. But again, we don't realize what the ripple effects are as we read to these children. They go home, they read to their younger siblings, sometimes their older siblings. Again, they have the planetarium and the observatory that they'll be able to visit right here in our backyard, and just the world that we're opening up for all of us in our community, and it is so exciting. I am very blessed to be able to be chairwoman of this project, but this would not happen without all of you, and so I thank you for your time and your dedication. One other thing I would say, and I'm not sure if we have anybody here from USC Press. Ida, do you know? USC Press is the publisher of this book, and so just another connection of how this community has so many just invaluable resources. We have just a state-of-the-art world-renowned publishing company just opening in USC, just to support USC, and they've been phenomenal at helping us get these books in the hands of these children. So I did want to thank them in their absence for their partnership, and hopefully we will continue to be able to do this as we look to bring more locally connected books into the homes of our citizens. So with that said, I would ask you all, Mr. Davis, do you want to say anything?
No, go ahead.
My colleague, Mr.
Yeah.
Davis, come in.
I've been a part of this from day one, and it's interesting, and it's a joy to know that you can each year pick another place where you have those untouched, hidden jewels, and that's wonderful. But the one thing that's common throughout each one of the schools is that the children are eager to learn. They want to know, and they're very, very bright. They will carry the conversations. And it makes my job a whole lot easier, but that tells us about the shoulders and the foundations that we have to shore up and strengthen, because those are the folks that are going to come behind us and help contribute to this city and this society. The best thing we can do is light the fire and keep fanning it and let it burn.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Mr. Smiley? All right, so without further ado, those of you who have not picked up your, well, I know, one other thing, I'm sorry. I know we have some principals with us, and I would ask that y'all would please stand and be recognized. Dr. Moore? That's my principal. He takes care of my babies, and, well, I won't go there, but he knows what I'm thinking, but I thank y'all so much again for participating. If you all have not picked up your books yet, you can go downstairs to the gallery at City Hall. We have a brief reception down there. You can pick up your books, and I would just encourage you all, please communicate with us after tomorrow's reading day. I always love to hear how the day went, so please email me or email the city, and we'll share among all council members your reading experience. But again, thank you so much for participating.